All right, good evening and welcome everybody to the Village of Webberville Council meeting. Today is April 14th, 2026. We'll kick things off with a call to order and a roll call. Here.
Gilmore? Here. Stanton? Here. Walters? Here. Schulte?
Here. Okay, everybody please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is there approval for the agenda this evening?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
Seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Open up public comment at 6:01 this evening. This time, if there's any public comment.
Thank you, Council, for giving me a few minutes. Last Thursday, I was made aware that the village office was closed in the afternoon, and for some reason, nobody was aware of why it was closed. Both employees, two girls in the office, were not here. The sign on the door says, "Sorry for the inconvenience." The police didn't know why. DPW didn't know why. And I was curious as to why the office was closed, and what I understood to be the situation was the office personnel, for some reason, were down at the Ford building. I questioned the president pro tem, and I was told that she was not aware of any reason why the village office was closed. Doing paperwork. I was just curious as to why the village office was closed. The employees were out of office in a building. Correct me if I'm wrong, that belonged to the DDA doing a project, which I was told was paperwork. Number one is Mr. President, I understand you were out of town. And again, pro tem did not know why. So who authorized the village office to be closed, took both employees out of here to be off-site, doing something at the Ford's building, which I'm confused on as to why that was necessary. My biggest question is who authorized it? I'd like to get an answer on that. I was just concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, so we'll close public comment at 6:03. At this time, I have no comments, which brings us to the consent agenda. Includes the minutes of the council meeting from March 23rd, accounts payable, investment report, revenue expenditure report, and the balance sheet. Council had a chance to review all those items. Questions about those? Not, is there approval for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Seconded, roll call.
McEwen?
Yes.
Gilmore? Yes. Stanfield?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Schulte?
Yes. Okay, brings us to our monthly reports. First up is the police report.
So overall, pretty quiet month. No activities actually listed, so with the warmer weather, there's been a slight uptick this month, but nothing overly concerning at this point. So we just continue to patrol and provide our presence around town in a proactive measure. Deputy Vincent will be transferring out of the village mid-next month. He will be transferring up to our Delphi office to be the school resource officer for Bull. That being said, they are seeking interested personnel from Mason who would like to come out here and work in the village. So once they select someone, we'll bring them and introduce them to everybody and there you go.
But we're keeping you.
You're stuck with me.
Thank
Yes.
So will there be somebody filling in temporarily until
There
there's
won't be a
permanent?
lapse in coverage.
Okay.
It'll be an automatic transfer.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any questions for the deputy? Thank you very much, sir. DPW report.
Month of March, did a lot of equipment maintenance, fixing stuff that broke over the winter time, doing some spring cleaning. We have Russian leaf pickup. I know we have a set schedule, but pretty much right now, if it comes out, we're trying to pick it up. That way it's not blowing around, sitting and killing people's grass, and looking bad in general. We're trying to fill potholes, probably be out Thursday of this week, weather permitting, do another couple of loads. And then, it's not on our report. Everybody's noticed construction did kick off this week. Today was our first significant day and we're making good progress. And then I was contacted last week by the company that does the Pure Michigan signs. You see them all around the state. They promote local businesses. The Lavender Farm up on North Kramer Road, they were interested in getting Pure Michigan signage put up. So the program through the state dictates that the signs can go out on any and all state highways. So they want to put one out on M52. But it dictates that any turns that are required, they have to have a 2 foot by 2 foot wayfinding sign. So it would require one sign to go on Grand River signifying that people have to turn north when they're coming off 52. There won't be one coming from the east. It's no cost to the village. They reached out just because it's our right of way. Since we own the road, they reached out to me. It doesn't cost anything. It'll just be a 2 foot by 2 foot sign that says Asame Lavender Farm with an arrow pointing to the north. Right now it's going to be about 300 feet this side of Kramer Road. It's in the right of way. We already have street signs out there. Like I said, it doesn't cost anything to the village, but it does promote local businesses. So I wanted to let council know that this was coming. That way if the sign pops up, people don't say, well, did we pay for that? No, we did not. So that's why that's in there. So I'm gonna let them know, yep, go ahead and proceed. They just kind of provided some examples of if we didn't allow the sign, say council said absolutely no signs are going up, then obviously Asame Farms would not be able to participate in the Pure Michigan program. So like I said, no money to us. They'll put the sign up, they maintain it, it's all theirs. So you'll be seeing a new sign going up here shortly, which is kind of nice to promote our local businesses. So, other than that, for the month of March, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions for DPW report? Seeing none, so it brings us to the clerk treasurer report.
Jacob and McKenna is working with the village staff to update the capital improvement plan, representing another important step in the redevelopment ready communities program. Staff are reviewing and updating internal policies and procedures to ensure compliance with current regulations and best practices. Staff have been working closely with Plant Moran to be an audit prep for the 25-26 fiscal year, while also working to close out the current fiscal year. I served as a panelist for the treasurer session on April 8th, 2026, when Lana brought up at last meeting for the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Association. Topics discussed included county policies, property taxes, the MERS transition to Empower, and the recent legislative updates.
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions about the clerk treasurer report? Okay, WDDA report.
Ford building coming along, that should be, I think our substantial completion is gonna be probably end of May. We're having to wait on a transformer currently, so, but, weather permitting, the patio and concrete and sidewalk should be in, I'm guessing probably next week at this point. And then, working yet where we have a special meeting on Thursday to talk about the revenue sharing agreement with the village and, to approve the parking lot and Summit Street construction to get that moving. So hopefully that'll get scheduled. I'm hoping that'll get scheduled just around, like shortly after school gets let out. So we get Summit Street done, parking lot done. So that'll be all completed.
Excellent. Any questions from the council about WDDA report? All right, building and zoning report. McKenna's not here this evening, but they did provide their printed report. NISA report.
So according to our meeting on Thursday, the director report says that we are at full staff and that calls were up over the last year. There have been a lot more EMS, fire, and motor vehicle accidents. And then the training, right now, there are about 15 students that passed the EMT class that have already taken the test. And then the fire school is still in progress, and they have 10 students still. NISA participated in an active violence training in Delhi, and that went really well. And then also, Chief Yance attended a critical incident training class at the Ingham County Sheriff's Office last week. There were a couple of grants that were submitted, but we haven't heard anything back. And then there's still continued interest in applying for positions at NISA. And they have decided to license Engine 61 as a medical response vehicle. That way, if there's a medical response, the engine can actually go out and take care of that if the ambulances are busy. So that's just an extra. And everything is going pretty good. Call volumes are up, like I said. So I also have a training report. If anybody's interested in looking at that, I do have a couple of pictures for training that we participated in. So,
Excellent. Thank you, Sandra.
you're welcome.
Glad to hear there's full staffing. Any questions about the NISA report? Seeing none, that brings us to the attorney's report.
I have nothing to report, President.
Wow,
I know, it's probably the first time.
first time in at least the 6 years I've been around.
Pretty quiet. I wish I had something for
Hey,
you.
don't say that word.
Okay.
Nothing with White Road, nothing that's still,
White Road is still pending with the Court of Appeals. It's at their pace. There's nothing that burdens the Court of Appeals from a certain deadline or anything like that. I normally just check before every council that I attend, and just check the ROA to make sure there hasn't been any movement, no movement as of yet. White Rose, there's another pending matter with the change of use, whereby we do have a court order demanding that White Rose officially change the use of the building from essentially the Carter lumber use to whatever Mr. Rittman's using it for now. And we've been in talks for some time. Mr. Rittman's again asking through his attorney that we meet with McKenna to try and figure this thing out. I don't think we're gonna go anywhere with it. I think it's just more delay tactic personally, but I was gonna call Mr. Corey and talk to him real quick, but.
how many more years is this gonna take?
Well, that's at the Court of Appeals, really. I mean, that's for them to decide. The second issue is more of a pressing issue that we probably should address sooner rather than later, but.
It's not changing the status of the building.
We do have a court order in place on that. Going back to when we first secured that court order, council was inclined to try and work with Mr. Rittman because he's got to go get an architect to validate whatever he's doing and stuff like that. And so I think the council was trying to be a good neighbor and pro-business, and it feels like delay at this point.
See if they can weed us out.
I think that may be the tactic, I'm not sure, but, so I was gonna check with Mr. Corey and then advise the council and then get a final directive from you guys here shortly as to how you want to proceed.
Any other questions for the attorney? No? Engineer reports. Bruce is, assume outside working on the parking lot. That is moving along. So any advocate reports? All right, brings us to the first item of new business, which is a discussion with land developer. So this evening, Steve Bossom, and I apologize, sir, I didn't catch your name, but Jeff, nice to meet you. I'll give you guys the floor to present I guess what it is you're proposing.
I'm Steve Cakesley, this is Boston Malik, we're with Cogburn Properties, and this is Jeff West with West Family Farms. If you recall, we were here about this time last year, if my memory serves me correctly, we've been pursuing options for highest and best uses of the West family's parcels, kind of along the Grand River corridor, M52 corridor. When we were here last year, our direction at that time was to do sort of a travel plaza on campus that would sit adjacent to Aldi. During that journey, we ran into some significant barriers that proved too much to overcome and forced a change in direction. During that change in direction, we have been avoiding what we call the taboo list, and we shared that with you last time we were here about wanting to avoid the dollar stores, the marijuana venues, wind, commercial or utility grade solar. There's a whole host of adult venues. There's a list of things that the West family wanted to avoid. And in seeking new uses, we've identified a particularly unique use that Webberville is well fitted for, and that's in warehousing. Effectively more of an Aldi style campus that would be logistics based, that would bring tax revenue and jobs, and would provide good use for the land. And upon realizing that, we've been very transparent with Sam and with Earl from the township, keeping them abreast of our direction, making sure they're kind of in on the early conversations rather than the late conversations. And so we spoke with Earl probably 3 weeks ago, a month ago, just kind of the general idea of this, to see if this was something we could get in front of you guys sooner than later. We presented it to the township last week at their meeting, with the outcome of they've expressed a willingness to have sort of a joint meeting at some point in the not too distant future to discuss how land that's currently in the township might be effectively used for the local area's benefit, with the implication being we need utilities from you guys to pull it off. So this is sort of just a first look, first explanation. If you have questions, have a back and forth about what that might look like. Some of the plans are specific enough that they're actionable. We have a very good offer right now for the land adjacent to Aldi. That could go sooner than later. The rest of it is more conceptual at this point on what future stages might be. But in a very general idea, if you were to take 52 and extend it straight north into the agricultural fields there, we would be proposing a business park there. It would be a large-scale park. Think big brother to the current industrial park, where the lots might be dozens, if not hundreds of acres with big warehouses as opposed to smaller, medium-sized businesses. A very fast and loose concept at the moment, but one that's taking taking the ability and the opportunity very seriously. We have a partner that is ready to partner with us. If the details aren't worked out, but all of that is pending municipal cooperation as well. So we're basically just to kind of bring you guys up to speed and see what the conversation leads us to.
Yeah, and again, this is all currently township land, but based on the described usage that Steve just laid out would certainly require municipal services, mainly water and sewer. So it would certainly require the township and the village to work together in some capacity to see this type of development to fruition.
Right. So one thing I would probably hone in on earlier than not is we aren't proposing a park for a park's sake. In other words, we're not operating under the if you build it, they will come mindset. The partner that we are currently courting would be a one-stop shop in that it would be built out in phases on a very regular schedule, and they would provide tenants. It would be more or less a turnkey, so that we're not flirting with the idea of a park that is essentially grass lots that we brush on, in the spring in the hopes that someone's going to come do something there. It would be actually, if we did it, it would be done, and it would be done in phases, and it would be sort of metered out. The phasing is not very specific yet because we don't have a deal yet. We don't even have any specifics yet, but it is laid out in phases at the concept stage. And we have a fair amount of examples from the same partner that we can point to we could point you to show how they do what they do and have done in other areas of our state and the nation, so that there's some confidence and some performance that's able to be measured and observed as opposed to hoped for. So.
Any questions from the board in terms of what's being proposed, concerns, thoughts?
Yeah, I would like to see some examples.
Okay.
We don't have anything on the north side of the Grand River for amenities, right?
It stops at Webberville Road along Grand River. So, I mean, the way to get water and sewer there would be either to continue running from Aldine north on 52 underneath the railroad tracks, which that's a pain, or come down Grand River from North Webberville Road.
Could be a pain.
Not really, it's open, and we have plenty of water on Grand River as well, because it's the 12-inch main that comes from town out to the tower.
Okay.
So we have plenty of water there, and the sewer would handle it just fine as well.
Well, the sewer and the water handler, they're talking about developing hundreds of acres. So I don't know how many developments that is on hundreds of acres, and what those developments are, as to how much they need, we don't have that answer.
It would be, I think if we went that route, we may have to look at a building by building basis. You know, if I don't have enough water for something that you're proposing, then obviously,
We've talked about the load that we know so far,
Yep.
that we've asked for. So when we talk about partnering, we're genuinely talking about partnering. So what our ask on the front side has been, that they would provide a Class A road extended north out of that intersection so that we can service all the property well. And then we've talked about the idea of if we need a water tower, you may be putting in a water tower, those types of things. The upside to the notion of warehousing is your load is your employee load. That's
Right.
So it's significantly less than if it was, say, a Walmart where you have hundreds and hundreds of people
Yep.
rotating through on a clock, around the clock basis, loading up the utilities. The other thing that is still, again, wildly conceptual is the east side of that property as it runs up Webberville Road is residential right now, not ag. And so, the township has expressed some initial concern that the industry doesn't go all the way to Webberville Road. So we've carved out all the frontage on Webberville Road for residential improvement. And then we've also proposed an expansion of the Simmons Memorial Park that would go all the way north to the end of the West Family property, include a wet area that would be more or less a pond with some pavilions, and extend the walking and biking trails up behind that. So it's sort of an all-inclusive phasing concept to where when it's done, you'll have as many as 4 warehouses that are big. They're talking 200 to 400 jobs per warehouse, tax revenue, and then you're increasing, the utility park area for local use. Plus, as it stands now, there's 7 conceptual residential lots that go up Webberville Road. So there would be a pretty significant buffer between what is now Webberville Road and the industrial development. So,
I certainly think it sounds interesting. Not hearing a whole lot of discussion tonight, but I guess what are the board's thoughts about collaborating with Leroy Township on further discussions? And even as Steve mentioned earlier to me, which is, putting together some sort of master plan for this type of development, which then gives both the village and the township quite a bit of say in kind of putting some guardrails up and shaping what this looks like. So it appropriately fits the communities and benefits everybody the most.
I'd be willing to have the conversation. I mean, I think part of the conversation is what are we gonna do with the people that are already on Grand River? Are we gonna demand that they get on city water or village water and sewer? Or are they gonna be left as they are? It's gonna be there for them to use now. Do we demand they get on it?
Most of the time, in Eagle's eyes, if they're on a well that is still testing as good water, they can stay on their well. If their well fails and there's a utility there, then they have to come onto our utility.
I believe north of Grand River, west of North Webberville Road is township. I don't believe that. They're village, right?
You go all the way to the end,
Our,
52.
Yeah.
Grand River.
is technically in the
Five acre
village.
lot right there.
Yeah.
But the north side of Grand River is considered village?
No, I don't think it is.
No,
South side.
so.
It's just the south
But-
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, just south.
But if we extend our water main west of Webberville Road, down Grand River, there are houses there that are on private wells.
Yeah.
So they would probably stay on their well with the notion that if your well fails, then you have to come on to us. And that would be through the health department and Eagle. That's generally how
There's
that's
only
shaped.
like 3 or 4 houses.
Well, there's, yeah, I guess there's 4 there.
Yeah.
Given that they're in
It's not gonna be a big
township
deal.
now, if you were to do a 425 to extend the water and sewer, they might want to stay township. So they'd be an enclave of the township, completely surrounded by village.
Yeah.
So if they didn't want to go on and they didn't want their taxes to go up, it seems likely in both cases.
Just asking a question.
Yeah, well, I suppose you guys do have an ordinance about connections, but if they're not village residents, that would apply. So it is likely that those 4 or 5 parcels become an island of the township as this occurs.
Well, actually, those 4 or 5 that are on the north side, when you go straight up to the personal lot, then there's the Simmons Park. Everything else would go west, so there would be a complete dividing line to what we're talking about. And then when you're talking about on the south side of Grand River, you're talking about, I think, 1
I think there's,
or 2 houses.
I think there's 2 houses.
2 houses.
And then there's the vacant land.
Yep.
That is ours, and then there's the 2.3 acres that we had sold to Hunt
Right,
for what he was supposed to do something with and never did,
right.
so.
No, I get that. I just wondered if the people on the north side, because they are not village people.
Yep.
They're township, but when the water and sewer comes through, will it be a demand that they have to join or not if there's,
Not of the township.
Not if they're township,
okay,
and if they want to, they generally can
right,
at their cost. You know, and if they're township, their rates would obviously be higher, but, you know, possibility is there.
right, but they're not forced to join. They can still be as they are, is my question. Okay, thank you.
If they're in the village limits, your ordinance would require them to, but they won't be in the village. They might not be in the village limits, it kind of be their choice.
They're not, they're on the opposite.
Right now,
side
they're
of the
not.
Village.
But if everything around them was coming into the village, then it would be a whole discussion.
Why would their cost be higher if they decided to join in?
If they're in the township and not in the village limits,
Yes,
you're gonna have a higher rate.
Rates are double.
Rates are double in the
That's by
township.
our water resolutions.
Yep, which is very common.
even
It's
though
not
they're
village
tying
limits.
into us.
Yeah.
And that's in your ordinance too.
Yep.
It says anyone who's non-resident and not located within a 425 area pays double. It's right in your ordinance.
That's a very common occurrence in municipalities all across state Michigan.
We have nobody in that circumstance.
No.
So it would be feasible for them to stay the way they are.
Absolutely. That's why I was wondering if it forces people or not.
Which is why these 425 discussions even come up in the first place, because generally warehouses of this size needing fire suppression is beyond what is capable of drilling private well and septic can handle. And if we were to extend our services outside of the village limits, that would then mean those businesses would have to pay double our water and sewer rates. So there's certain gives and takes with the 425, but that's certainly one of them.
Then, being last week, one of the board members asked a question about, well, if they're gonna build warehouses, it's gonna go right up against the cemetery and the park and everything else. Well, there's a nice buffer of trees that are gonna keep that separate. So everything would be west of those trees.
Right.
And so part of this journey, maybe I could color this a little bit by explaining some of the barriers that we continually ran into. One of them being traffic counts. Webberville is uniquely positioned on I-96, but once you step off of I-96, we don't have traffic counts that support any of the things that we were trying in our earlier attempts for land use would support. So in terms of fast food, in terms of car washes, gas stations, travel centers. All of them are very interested about the potential until they look at traffic counts, and then all of that goes out the window until there's more traffic counts. So as we kind of navigate these things, we've been very involved with LEAP in a lot of these pursuits and endeavors of checking markets and checking options. One of the things that came quickly to the top was this notion of warehousing. And so as our world is evolving and developing with the online markets and less brick and mortar and more online ordering, regional warehousing is becoming quite a thing. And LEAP actually made this connection for us with the part that we're talking about. They've already vetted them for us through several projects in the larger Lansing area that was a very well organized, executed plan. So we then began meeting with them, and effectively what they're doing is they're looking at the world and they're saying, we have clients all over the world and they're growing faster than we can keep up with them. So they're strategically purchasing land banks so that they can develop speculatively to keep their clients moving faster than as fast as their clients are growing, basically. So as part of the joint meeting, if you guys are inclined to do that, one of those things would be to fly in one of their project managers from Seattle who can answer all of these questions far better than we can. I can show you a concept tonight that I can let you look at, but I have to take it with me, that would maybe flesh out what is actually being proposed, or as best as we can tell is being proposed. The driving force in all of this is the West family's desire to do something with their land that benefits them without perjuring or damaging community values and making enemies from their neighbors. So this avoids the data centers, the solar, the marijuana, all of the things that we can generally agree would be a detriment to the area, and it brings jobs and tax revenue in a way that benefits them. So this is sort of a stopgap that fixes all of the problems that we've heard expressed from the community. As you know, we've been meeting with the Aldi folks and the commissions to try to resolve the truck stacking. We've been involved in all of that since, probably going on 2 years now. And in that, we've had, I won't call them listening sessions, but we've been soliciting feedback from the area of when this gets developed, what do you guys want to see here? And one of the big things was jobs. One of the big things was tax revenue, those types of things without the unsavoriness of some of the things that might generate those things. So we're pretty confident that this is the highest and best way to solve all those problems. This lets them develop their land and benefit their family, and it lets them stay in good standing with their community, and it lets you guys have tax revenue, jobs, and growth. And once we talk about traffic counts, those are now almost automatically fixed. So now all the things that we wanted to bring on the front side can start coming in, because now your traffic counts are going to go up substantially if you add 200, 400, 600, 800 more jobs at this intersection. Things get much better in terms of traffic counts for more of the supportive industry.
Have you done any due diligence yet with MDOT or the railroad in terms of extending 52 at that intersection?
We have not. So part of the beauty of this partnership is the other thing we kept running up against was the Ingham County Drain Commission. And quite frankly, as small developers, we don't have the horsepower, the money to keep up with that kind of a bureaucratic force, for lack of a better word, to try to be polite here. These kind of folks do. It's what they do. They have the ability to come in. They have the money to make problems resolve in a legitimate way. I don't mean like in a backroom meeting way, but the problems that need to be fixed on some of these things. The Seymour Drain hasn't been updated since it was put in 100 years ago. That's a big problem. And if we're going to put in McDonald's, that doesn't generate enough revenue to fix the Seymour Drain. But if you're going to put in substantial industry, it does. If we're going to put in a truck stop, we don't have the capital to put in a Class A road. But you see what I'm saying? So we're bringing in a big player to put in big pieces, but then the little pieces start to fall in. So once utilities are up there, now the Taco Bells of the world don't have to pay for utilities to come up there because they're already there. Now a Taco Bell makes sense. Whereas if we're just going to put a Taco Bell there, they can't lift the front end of that.
But is there any sort of plan B for accessing that type of industrial park if MDOT or CSX were to say, you can't put an intersection and a four-way stop that close to the railroad crossing?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because I know it was a big issue just to get the light improvement out there.
Yeah.
Because of railroad restrictions, and they were concerned about people being stopped on the tracks. Same issue we ran into with improving the Aldi situation with truck backups, is not putting in another turn lane because of the crossing.
Right. I don't know the answer to that, and that would be part of their due diligence as they chase all of this out. I can tell you that we've been involved in this for over 2 years now, and we've maintained very good working relationships with LEAP and with MDOT. We've attended all of their meetings. We've done all of the carrying of wood that we can do on our end, as well as continuing to offer assistance wherever it's afforded. So our hope has always been to be transparent and to have these conversations we have on the front side so that the community is involved rather than, insulated from and divorced from. I mean, we've all witnessed the Webberville data center thing going on. We're watching the Mason one go on. We're watching the solar fights. We've watched all of this. We don't want that to be the situation here. We want it to be something where everybody sees the opportunity, we see the resource that we have that we didn't know that we had 2 years ago. And how do we now work together to get all this figured out and put wheels on it? As opposed to having adversarial relationships where, there's meetings and hearings and lawsuits and all of that kind of stuff. It's not the way we prefer to do it.
What type of timelines would you be looking at for initiating any sort of meaningful action on this?
The Aldi adjacent site between the tracks and Aldi is more or less ready to go. We're pretty deep in negotiations on it. That would not have anything to do with the park to the north, other than it would be the same partner. And our current thinking is it would be a way to watch them as a community perform, do everything they said that they would do in a meaningful way, in a timely way, so that when we extend them further opportunity, they've already earned the right to do that, as opposed to just doing it carte blanche.
Okay. Scott, question for you. As far as I know, we've never had a joint meeting between township and the village. Being that both boards would be present presumably in full, abiding by Open Meetings Act, are there any watchouts or landmines, or do we need to have a vote on accepting a joint meeting, or is that something that, it sounds like from the board, there's willingness to have a joint meeting? Can I collaborate with Earl to find a date for the next meeting or whatever that would work for the boards?
Oh, I believe so.
Okay.
And so, and I apologize, you did mention that it's gonna be the full panel, both municipalities coming together.
Yeah, I believe that was the ask when I talked to Earl and Steve, was bringing both boards together, which would require it to be open meeting compliant.
That's right. Nope, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay. And Chris, I would very much like you to be involved, considering McKenna does planning for both entities.
Yes, the nice thing from our end is, we've got Jacob involved with you guys, we've got Remy involved on the Leroy side, I'm obviously involved in both, which means you guys can schedule a meeting when it's convenient for both boards, McKenna will be able to staff. And there is a lot of planning-related paperwork that would go along with this.
Right.
Regardless of what direction you end up going in procedurally, if you both agree to move forward. In terms of 425, or something like a joint planning commission, or an LDFA, or there's a lot of options, but what I will say right now is this land is in the township, as you noted, and this proposal is not consistent with the township master plan. So from a planning perspective, something is gonna have to be done to let this move forward without undermining the township in particular, their planning zone.
Well, it's not necessarily explicit in our master plan. It's not in our master plan to extend services beyond village limits either. So we're kind of between a rock and a hard place where something's gonna have to give somewhere.
Yeah, it's not in your documentation at all, and it is explicitly contrary to theirs. So they'd have to make some changes, or it would have to come to the village or something. So there would have to be some, but that is down the road after an initial discussion of whether this is something you guys want to pursue together at all. Or whether it's being pursued purely under the township, and this is just a water and sewer discussion, which is also a possibility. So there's a lot of moving parts, but we're happy to help.
So to Chris's point, the lens that we've asked the township to look at this through is, in their master plan, it was very obvious that they were aware that there was going to be development on the Grand River corridor and on the M52 corridor because they have labeled it as such. On the Grand River corridor, they only go 300 feet deep off of the corridor itself. We're asking for that to be increased. And what our position is, everybody has a bad taste in their mouth for when a big, corporation rolls into town, and pretty soon there's, meetings that don't go well and all those types of things, and pretty soon everybody's on board with it except the community, and somehow we get strong-armed through and we get something we don't want. And our position has been, you already knew that you had proposed development on the corridor. We're simply saying that we've done 2 years worth of due diligence and we've exposed now a resource that you didn't know you had. You have an interstate, you have access to the interstate, you have an MDOT road, you have three-phase power, you have natural gas, you have a railroad, you have all of these things here. And when you couple that together with large tracts of land immediately adjacent to those things, that's a very unique resource that probably was under-realized or underappreciated. We're simply saying, we can now demonstrate for you that this is a global resource and we have an outlet for it. So with that lens, we're now saying your master plan could be rethought because you know something now that you didn't know when you wrote your master plan. So that's the lens that we're asking it to be looked at as we talk with the village, is take the knowledge you have now and think about your master plan through a different lens and consider rewriting it to support what we're proposing.
Well, I mean, the discussion is still certainly on the floor, but it sounds to me like I need to work with Earl and Cogbert and McKenna to try to find an appropriate time when both boards can come together and we can try to hash out some of these details. That's it.
Yep.
And to that point, the only thing we would need, we're local and we're flexible. It would make the most sense to get the most questions answered if we're going to go through the heavy lift of getting a joint meeting, to have their representative come in and field questions, make their pitch, all of those things, so that it's a complete, straight from the horse's mouth deal. So the only thing we would need is time to make sure that they can, if we pick a date, we need to make sure they can.
Yeah.
Accommodate that.
Probably most appropriate, I'm thinking, do a special meeting, find a date that works for both boards and keep it separate from each municipality's regular meetings, just so it stays clear. We'll be in touch, we'll try to figure it out.
Yeah, and we're always available, so if questions come up between now and then, don't be afraid to reach out.
Anything else before we move on? All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. New business item number 2, Livingston County Building Department. I was hoping that they were going to be here this evening. I'm not sure what happened, but they did provide an example of an intergovernmental contract as well as an email. So that was provided in the packet, just really outlining the types of services that they offer. In fact, they have 22 building department employees, 4 plan reviewers, 4 building inspectors, 2 mechanical, 2 electrical, 2 plumbing, 6 counter staff, 1 building official, 1 deputy building official. Their building department provides next day 40-hour-a-week service, scheduled before midnight. Inspections happen next day, no exceptions. Inspections can be requested via email or automated phone system, text, or in person. Online permit submittals available for simpler projects, instant permit issuance for maintenance projects. And then just to reiterate, they do operate on a nonprofit basis, being that they're a government entity. So all of their fees and fee schedule essentially just cover the cost of operations. So I would encourage everybody to read this, as well as the example intergovernmental agreement that they currently have with Williamston. Obviously, this would need to be amended to reflect Webberville. but it's a pretty straightforward agreement to enact coverage. I hesitantly ask if there's questions because I don't know what I'll be able to answer. But any comments from the board?
Sounds really good.
So I will check in with, the gentleman's name is Jim. So it seems like we'll always have a Jim. I'll see if he's available for our next meeting to come in and discuss this, but please review this, come back with questions. We can put it on the agenda next meeting for approval, as well as deputizing somebody for ordinance enforcement. So that way we can try to get everything taken care of all at once with start date of May 1st. But if we need to push that back, we can.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just one quick note, I do want to confirm that McKenna is available to continue doing rental inspections and marijuana animal inspections. Jake Van Boxel is actually qualified to handle both of those, so if you want us to continue doing that, we can do that without changing our contract. If Livingston County can handle those, that's great too.
Yeah.
Easy, as we'll let you know that's still available for us.
Yeah, I'm almost positive they don't do rental inspections. I don't know about the marijuana, but I think that probably brings up another point of discussion, perhaps not a decision for next meeting, but being that all of this is changing, is do we want to continue on the course of rental inspections that we have for quite a while, which I think there's been some questions as to whether or not the effectiveness of it, it just being another cost burden to landlords. But I think that's more appropriate discussion for later on down the road if we want to continue the program.
And
Or modify
that's
it.
fair to us too, just for the context for the council, you have 27, 28 rentals, something like that. They're all inspected once every 3 years, which means on an annual basis, it's like 8 or 9 inspections. Jim Wright does have, and we can provide it to Livingston County if necessary, a list of all their upcoming inspection dates out to 2028, which would be the ones that were just inspected last year. Their next date is in 28. So that's all available. And I'm just to give you an understanding of the scale of it, which is not that large. But if you're not getting value out of it, then that's also a simple loss.
Number 6, they do not do rental inspections or nuisance code inspections or enforcement either, as far as grass and junk cars.
There you go. I'm going to assume that the marijuana inspections fall under rental inspections. It's not a rental, but
Yeah,
And they're their own thing, but they are, I think there's only 2 of those left, maybe 3. I guess 3, including the retailer.
Yeah.
And those are inspections under their approval criteria from previously.
Yep. Okay. Any other comments for the Livingston County Building Department topic? Okay, we will move on to new business item number 3, which is the 2026 audit engagement letter. That. This is a Cambridge, is it?
It is Cambridge.
It is? Okay. So we've been working with Gaybridge for at least 5 years now. They've done a fantastic job. It's audit season. I see no reason not to continue with their services. Are there any comments about or questions about the audit? If not, recommend that we approve the 2026 audit engagement letter with Gaybridge and Company not to exceed $16,250.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
McEwen,
yes,
Schoenborg,
Yes.
Stanfield,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Foley.
Yes. Thank you. Last item of new business is the special event permit for the community picnic on June 12th. So we do this every year. This year will be the North Main Street parking lot, Cherry Street from Summit Street to Main Street, and Main from Grand River to the end of the school parking lot. Starts at 5:30, ends at 7:30. Just need barricades from the DPW, pretty straightforward. Any comments, questions about the community picnic?
So everything's gonna be on Main Street, including that parking lot?
And we're going to, use the elementary school area as well
Okay.
and set things up there. That's where we're going to be serving the food out of. Hopefully, we're going to have at least one inflatable for the kids. I'm in the process of talking to the parish about a car show and, correct me if I'm wrong, but a bike show as well.
So Grand River will stay open?
Yes.
Okay, I recommend that we approve the special event permit for the community picnic on June 12th, 2026 as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Seconded. No money being spent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's approved. End of new business. We will open up for our second round of public comment at 6:52.
Again, John Leonard, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. President, either through you or the attorney, we got an update on the White Rose lawsuit procedure process update. I appreciate that. Possible to get an update on the village village lawsuit, which involves the former employee, either through you or through your attorney at this time. I would really appreciate an update as a public resident.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment this evening? Seeing none, so we'll close public comment at 6:52. I have no comments at this time. Is there any comments from the council?
Yeah, I'd like to know why the village offices were closed last Thursday.
It was requested to get input from our staff as to particulars about the Ford building. Josh, I don't know if you can provide any detail on what was needed there. I was not here.
Carolyn and Jessica have been helping with, figuring out decor and figuring out layout of how the building's gonna sit for everyone to get to be in an event space.
Since you weren't here, who authorized that?
To Jessica, but I've given her full permission to run the office as she sees fit. She's the clerk treasurer. It's her department.
Okay.
So the decision to close the office was made by the clerk without your knowledge or without the pro temp's knowledge, is that correct?
Any other comments from council? Comment?
Yeah, please answer this question. Or do I have to ask it too?
Do you have a comment?
I do. So Jessica can just open and close the office as she sees fit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make motion to adjourn at 6:51 PM.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you for coming.